A lot is going on in the world, and we'll be talking about that here on Pod TV and seeing what folks' reactions are to a number of these stories that are taking place and all along those lines. Like I said, a lot's taking place, and we're always glad to be covering that here on Pod TV and hearing what folks have to say about a number of these stories that are going on around the world and in the world. So definitely a lot's taking place, and of course, Trump is in the news as usual, and other things are taking place as well. So we'll be talking about that. I'm hoping to be joined by some of our regular panelists and see what they've got on their minds as well, because a lot's taking place. And of course, we're always glad to be having conversations about a number of these stories and how they might be impacting you and your life and all along those lines. So we'll be talking about these news stories and see what folks have got on their mind and what other things they may be talking about as well. So, like I said, of course, there are still conversations going on in regards to the war in Ukraine and to the Middle East as well. And currently, health workers are racing to respond to Congo's fast spreading Ebola. So, Ebola is a story that a lot of folks are paying attention to also, because that is a major news item that folks are looking at and all along those lines. Bodies of four Italian divers have been located in the Maldives Sea Cave. So, Italy's foreign minister says divers found the bodies of four Italians dead in the Maldives Sea Cave. So, that is something that folks are talking about in the European theater. Trump warns Iran the clock is tension as tensions surge again in the Middle East. So Trump is warning Iran that that clock is ticking as new drone attacks hit the UAE and Saudi Arabia. So Trump says time is of the essence for a Iran deal. So that's something that folks are talking about as well. Trump dropped his $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS. So that is something else that folks are talking about also. And Trump and administration officials addressed a Christian gathering on the National Mall yesterday. So it does seem like he is going after the Christian vote and all along those lines. So we'll see how this plays out as the midterms are coming up and all in that way. So we'll see how this all plays out and what folks have to say about that. Of course, there is a heat wave. We're in the middle of one right here in Durham, North Carolina, and I know there are heat waves in other parts of the countries as well. And of course, we do have finals in the NBA set and everything like that. So it'll be the San Antonio Spurs against the Oklahoma Thunder, and it'll be the Knicks facing the Cavaliers. So there's definitely the sports stuff going on, including the World Cup and a number of other things also. So definitely there are a number of stories going on, as well as that Ebola outbreak that's taking place in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And definitely even coming back to the UAE, the drone strikes UAE nuclear plant, highlighting the risk of a renewed war. So Trump is threatening Tehran. So that's definitely something that folks are talking about, is this notion of him threatening Tehran and saying what he might do if there is not a peace deal put into place in the near future and all along those lines. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on in that space. And these are three drones that Ukraine used to pierce Moscow's air defense gauntlet, is what some people are reporting in the Business Insider. So if you go and check that publication out, you can learn that what they're thinking about the war and all along those lines. Ukraine breaches Russia's strongest air defense to hit Moscow. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. And Peru's electoral board confirms the June 7th presidential runoff. So a runoff in Peru offers two starkly different visions for that nation. So Peruvian authorities confirm Fujimori and Sanchez have advanced to the runoff. So we'll see how this all plays out as well. So definitely lots going on in that space. And Israel begins boarding Gaza-bound Turkish flotilla boats. That was reported earlier today. So Israeli forces stormed a Gaza-bound aid flotilla off of the nation of Cyprus. And a child was among at least 10 people shot dead by a gunman in central Mexico. So it looks like Mexican officials have announced that there are 10 dead in an early morning shooting in Tehuantepec. So definitely that is something that folks are talking about as well. And the G7 finance ministers look to confirm Iran economic fallout. So world imbalances trouble G7 in wake of Trump's China encounter. So the G7 finance ministers are to meet amid the warnings of economic consequences and all along those lines. So we'll see how this all plays out. And Trump is to convene a top level situation room meeting on Iran with no nuclear deal in sight. And Pope Leo has launched an AI commission. So the Vatican to publish Pope Leo the 14th first encyclical sent on May 25th. So um, algorithmization of life and preserving human dignity is what the Vatican News is talking about. So preserving human voices and faces, three challenges from Pope Leo for World Communications Day. So he is putting a dictate out there about communications and AI. And executions worldwide hit a 40-year high, is what Amnesty International says. Executions nearly doubled in the U.S. last year and soared abroad. So it does look like a lot of folks are getting executed around the world. And the rescued humpback whale Timmy was found dead off the Danish coast. So he's gotten rescued, a couple of weeks ago. But the German minister defends perfectly humane decision to allow attempts to rescue whale and to rescue the whale. So, but the humpback whale released after spectacular rescue effort found dead off of Denmark. So they rescued him, and unfortunately, he was found dead, and all along those lines. And Vox becomes kingmaker as Sanchez suffers defeat in a Spanish regional election. So, a Spanish conservative forced to rely on some far right Vox party after losing majority in Andalusia. So, Spanish socialites suffer a worse loss in largest region. So, definitely we'll see how this all plays out as well. Because the Spanish conservatives lose majority in Andalusia. So we'll see how this plays out, making the far right deal likely and all along those lines. So we'll see if this actually happens or doesn't happen. And a man was killed in a shark attack off Rottnest Island. So great white shark kills a spearfishing diver in Australia. And they're saying that was a horrific event and all along those lines. So it looks like the great white shark killed a spearfishing diver and all in that way. And Putin faces very difficult choices in Ukraine as sanctions bite. And definitely there's a lot more going on, including some of the places that might also be choosing to break away as well. So you're going to bring in my folks, depending on who we now got, because I think I heard one click, but we'll see if others have joined us as well and everything like that. But always some great stories. So we just got Rick with us right now. So how you doing, Rick? Looks like we got a lot of stuff going on in the world, and as usual, and Xi and Putin are hailing the opening of the China-Russia Expo and stressing cooperation. So I guess they did that 2 days ago. So I guess they're saying we're going to be cooperative.
So a lot of stuff going on. Ukraine just unveiled some air-guided missiles or airdrop missiles that can be guided remotely, which is a new weapon to use against Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So Ukraine keeps making big strides in its weaponry. It's a shame that they didn't have some of these weapons ready when Russia first invaded 4.5 years ago. And they could have walloped Russia immediately and backed them off. But Ukraine's been doing pretty well at holding Russia off to a stalemate over the past 2 years, even regaining tiny bits of ground. Russia still holds about 20% of Ukrainian territory. But they haven't gained any further territory in 2 years. Trump's approval has been hitting new all-time lows, while retaining high approval levels among Republicans. He still has 83% approval among Republicans. However, Republicans right now are only 17% of voters. The Democrats are 19.5% of voters. The rest are independents. So people have been, are pretty disgusted with both parties, but more disgusted with the Republicans. Trump, I saw Trump is still going ahead with having UFC fighting on the lawn of the White House for his birthday next month.
Oh, wow.
Which I guess if you like Trump, you'll like that, but it strikes me as crazy. This is day 15 of the national average price of gas being over 4.50 a gallon.
Well,
And I think we're in week 7 of gas being more than $4 a gallon. People were pissed when we had 20 weeks of gas over $4 a gallon under Biden. And I don't know, given how things are in the Strait of Hormuz, I think we have a shot at beating Biden's record of number of days. We had 8 weeks under Biden of gas over 4.50. Right now, we're starting week 3 of 4.50 a gallon gas under Trump.
we were speaking of blaming Biden. I did see that Trump had another one of his lovely True Social posts where I guess he was laying all the blame on Biden for the economics, and I think he said something like that after he had met with G and everything like that. So he's basically trying to say that this is all Biden's fault, the economic turn that we're going in, not taking any responsibility himself. But we wouldn't expect him to take any responsibility. That's not his nature and everything like that. But it does look, I did see a post that he put on True Social where he laid all the blame on Biden, and I think some of the other Democrats as well. But did you see that True Social post?
I did, but I mean, it's par for the course. And Trump has been president now for 16 months. He's 1/3 of the way through his term. And obviously, the price of gas has nothing to do with Biden.
No, not at all. Nothing to do with Biden whatsoever, and all in that space. But and I don't know if you heard the other story, but this is actually some scary news, and I don't know your thoughts around it. But they're saying the executions have hit a worldwide high and everything like that. So apparently, we've doubled in the U.S. from last year, and then it's been soaring throughout the world and everything like that. So I guess if you do something stupid, there's a good possibility you may get executed and everything like that.
There has been a rise in right-wing politics across the world. And I've been arguing that COVID probably cooked a lot of people's brains and made us angrier, and, maybe dumber. And I draw parallels to the 1920s when we were coming off of a flu epidemic that infected 1/3 of the world, and that saw the rise of fascism, the return of the KKK, a worldwide depression, and eventually World War II. So, plus new media. In the 1920s, we had radio to spread propaganda. People hadn't heard radio much before, so they were more susceptible to propaganda. We're susceptible to social media propaganda. Makes us crazier.
Definitely are more susceptible. I think there was Tokyo Rose and some of the other propagandists back in the day and everything like that. But yeah, we got Sasha joining us as well. But this is for both of you. Apparently, the Pope is putting out a edict or something about AI. So I guess he's concerned about AI and its role in society, and he still wants to have that human touch as well. Will this make any difference in the AI revolution? The fact that the Pope is going to try to sway people's votes and thoughts?
A little bit. I mean, people should be thinking about AI because it's not going away. People should be thinking about AI for the same reason people, I don't know, should have been thinking about cars in 1910. They were about to reshape society. And obviously AI is going to reshape society more in the next decade than cars did in 1910. But yeah, we should be thinking about it, talking about it, talking about how much governance of AI we want. Like, because right now, in America, there's not a lot of governance, and people, it's all up to the people who own the companies themselves, billionaire, technocrats. But Sasha should have thoughts on this.
Yeah, it's undeniable that AI is taking more and more place into this way of life, communications, and everywhere. And to tell the truth, I don't know how you can put any significant barriers on that. It penetrates everyday's life, and it will do even more so in the near future.
And there's good and bad. AI will make great strides in medicine. It already is helping with cancer therapy, with giving doctors more time to spend with patients because AI does a lot of the paperwork now, which because a big chunk of being a doctor is filling out a report on every patient. And if AI can automate the reports, that saves doctors a couple hours a day that they can spend with patients. But the bad thing is that AI, there are plenty of people experts who say it's not going to get as smart as humans, but it will behave as if it's smarter than humans in a lot of areas. Maybe not in every single area of human endeavor, but in a lot of areas. And that's a huge threat to, it will change. Humans have basically lived the same lives for 10,000 years. We form little communities. We couple up with people when we have babies. The human life has been roughly the same for 10,000 years. And when AI starts messing with shit, we might see basic changes to the way we live our lives.
That's real true and everything. Hey, Sasha, I know you'll talk about it on tomorrow, but what's the latest you're hearing about what's going on in both Israel and in Ukraine and everything like that? Because I know that there's been a lot of developments, and I just wanted to know if you could give us a preview of what y'all will be talking about on tomorrow. I'll still reach out to Steve and see if he's available.
So Ukraine is very easy. The Moscow is burning, and the Ukrainians are using all their drones capabilities and missiles, and they're attacking all Russian targets everywhere. So I think that unless Trump will try to save his friends Putin face, I think Putin will be defeated much sooner than anybody thinks. What's happened in Iran? Well, Iran is waiting U.S. capitulation, and should happen. The sooner it happens, actually, the better for U.S. because they will just move out of there. Strait of Hormuz will reopen, and the life will go on. Any drastic action on the part of U.S. will make U.S. much weaker, much more unpopular, and essentially the war will be lost anyway. So this will just inflict more and more sacrifices on America. Now that is being reflected in the American economy and the stock market and the finances. Actually, I'm not surprised that on PODTV, the program Economic Monday has been canceled simply because there is nothing to discuss. There is no economy in a country which is ruled by a maniac, by a con artist, by a criminal. Look at his tax reports on his stock trades. He trades millions, trades in the first quarter, and he trades in a company that he anticipates that there will be some kind of announcement later on today or tomorrow, and so he's buying $1 billion worth of stock, and the stock is hiring itself. So this is absolutely incredible weakness of American society that allows the charlatan, the criminal, to run the country. And
well, let's talk about the numbers. So he's required to release these numbers of the number of trades he's done. And in the first quarter, the first 3 months of the year, he did 30. He said he's not doing it. It's done through his representatives, but he probably talks to his representatives, or his kids do. And he did 3,700 trades in 90 days, with about 2/3 of them done after the war started in the last. So we're looking at 60 to 100 trades a day for a total of, and when you release your figures, you're allowed to release in a broadband. So we know that he did between 220 million and 750 million dollars worth of stock trades, which is in just this basically this 5-week period. Towards the end of the first quarter, he did more insider trades than all other presidents combined by far in all of history. It's freaking crazy.
No, it's totally crazy. There's no doubt about that.
But it's not crazy for him to do it because he rightly thinks that he's not going to get in trouble for it. So nobody is stopping him.
But he probably thinks he can have a third term, but we know that that's not constitutionally possible. But who knows? He might be trying to figure out some way to rewrite the law.
Well, let's also talk about this $1.8 billion slush fund. So Trump is pissed because somebody at the IRS a few years ago leaked some of his tax returns. Now, every presidential candidate, every major candidate for the past, 3 decades has released their tax returns, except Trump. Trump promised he would when he was done being audited. He never has. He first started running for president 11 years ago, never released a tax return. But some of his tax returns were leaked. So he sued the government for $10 billion.
Rick, has he been running 11 years or he's been running 25 or 30 years? Because I first heard of Trump being president under the Simpsons and everything like that.
All right, so yeah, he talked about running. He stepped into the race, a couple times, maybe in the year 2000, maybe in 1996, but it was never an official campaign. But since 2015, he's had an official presidential campaign. And so never released a tax return. But he's suing because somebody leaked this, and he says he's willing to settle with the government for $1.8 billion instead of suing them for $10 billion. He's willing to settle for 1.8 to be distributed among people who have been victims of persecution by prosecutors, which means people who were prosecuted, say, under Biden, or for there's enough money in there to give every person who was prosecuted for storming the Capitol on January 6th, 2020, you could give each of those people $500,000 and still have more than half of this slush fund left over. Now, a judge, I think, has to approve this. And the judge in the case has been pretty skeptical about this. But Trump might have enough leverage to just take nearly $2 billion from the government to give to his friends.
It's taxpayers' money, by the way.
It's our money. It's taxpayers' money.
It's totally taxpayers' money, but he's going to try to.
So it's more craziness. And Trump's approval, as I said, is at historic lows, 38%. It's really hard to get down to 38% approval because probably 20%, 25% of Americans will support the president because he's the president, regardless of what he does.
Yeah, that's very true and everything like that. We do have some lighter news and everything that you'll get a kick out of, Rick, because, there's always interesting researchers that are finding interesting things. And apparently some Irish researchers have found the oldest English language poem in a forgotten medieval book. So they have come out and have come up with this idea that they have found this oldest English poem hidden inside a lost 8th century Latin manuscript. So it's a lost 1,200-year-old manuscript that apparently contains the first English poem. So it was predating Shakespeare and other writers.
That's interesting. And that gives me a recommendation of a TV show to watch. It's out of Britain. It's called The Detectorists.
Right.
And it's about a couple guys, including Toby Jones. You'd recognize him. Very good actor. It's about a couple guys who walk around British fields with those metal detecting wands. You know, you take them to the beach to look for dropped rings. It's a show about a couple, you know, mild-mannered guys in England who are looking for 1,000-year-old stuff in British fields, and it's a super it's just a really good show.
It sounds like a good show, so that's good.
It's a comedy. It's a comedy. It's scripted. It's not like Ghost Hunters or some crap like that.
Speaking of Ghost Hunters and things that are in the entertainment world, is this the weekend? I believe it is the weekend that Stephen Colbert will have his last show.
He has 4 more shows, I believe, with all-star guests like Springsteen, maybe Obama, and he will last on his last show last week. He had David Letterman on, and they took the chairs that the guests sit in and they threw them off the roof.
Yep, and he also had what he called Track Force 5, which is the other host, because they all invited him to come on to other shows. So it was like
So one good thing about Colbert getting fired, the only good thing about it is that he's free to go on the remaining talk shows and hang out. And I watched the Strike Force 5 show, which had Colbert and Kimmel and John Oliver and Jimmy Fallon, all 5 of these guys who are friends. And you got 5 funny guys all together. It was a very entertaining show. It's like Johnny Carson used to be. The Tonight Show used to be 90 minutes. So he would end up with 3 guests all together on a couch, just like, you know, throwing jokes at each other. And it was a much more entertaining format than the current format where somebody who has a movie to promote comes on and is interviewed for 6.5 minutes.
Right. Well, speaking of folks being interviewed for 6.5 minutes and all along those lines, and I don't know if either you or Sasha have contemplated. I'm not that adventuristic, and it sounds like it's very dangerous. I watched a movie about it. I think it was doing the full frame and everything like that. But there are 2 Nepalese climbers that broke their own Everest record, and they did that yesterday. So Everest Man and the Mountain Queen break their own records, scaling the world's tallest peak. So would either of you try to do that?
How fast they did it, or how many times they've done it?
I think this might have been. Let me see what the record was. I'm thinking it's the.
Well, anyway, no, I would never do that. It probably costs $30,000 to do that, maybe $40,000. You got to hire a bunch of Sherpas. You got to get a bunch of specialized equipment. You have to slowly ascend. When you get up to my friends had to save me from hypothermia and altitude sickness at 12,000 feet on Long's Peak in Colorado when I was a kid. These people are going up to 29,000 feet. I would never freaking do that. People die up there, and you know they leave their bags of poop. It's a miserable thing to do. It costs a lot of money. The people you're going to be climbing with, the rich people, they're kind of dicks.
That's what one of the movies was about. Is how they.
Yeah, there was a movie called Into Thin Air, which is about like an expedition that went very bad, and there was a lot about how dickish like the rich people climbing Everest were.
And by the way, the record, to answer your question, is the amount of ascent. So one climber, Kami Rita Sherpa, 56, who is nicknamed the Everest Man, scaled the 8,849 meter peak for the record 32nd time, while Lakba Sherpa, 52, known as the Mountain Queen, made her 11th summit. So they have the same last name.
Okay. That's insane, but okay. But they probably make a decent living doing that. The rich people hire them to drag them up the freaking mountain.
Have you climbed up the mountain, Dr. Sharif? You're over there.
Dr. Sharif's only a few hundred miles from Everest.
Right. Have you attempted Everest at all? Have you attempted to climb Everest, Dr. Sharif?
What's your question?
Have you attempted to ever climb Mount
Everest?
Everest?
You've ever tried to climb Mount Everest, which is in your neighborhood?
Yeah, no, I never tried. No, I never tried. Yes, but I know a few of my Bangladeshi colleagues and friends, they tried it and they become successful. Yeah.
Cool.
I've got some more nonsense news. So yesterday, Shohei Ohtani, who's maybe the greatest baseball player of our time, if not in history, scored what's called, I've never heard this term, a little league home run. And that is, you hit a triple, the ball goes someplace weird, and somebody makes an error that allows you to reach home.
Yeah, I've heard of that. It happens quite often in the Little League.
In Little League, but not in the pros. But he hit a ball that took a weird bounce and got hung up in the netting, and the players on the other team like made a bad throw, and he made it to home. But it made me think about baseball maybe has more weird stuff happen than any other sport. Like one time, a pitcher threw a 100-mile-an-hour pitch, a bird got in the way, and it exploded the bird. So I did the math. There's more weird stuff in baseball because a baseball season for a team, they spend almost 500 hours out on the field. Compared to basketball, a full season is only a third of that amount of time on the court, and it's inside where less weird stuff's going to happen. And Jacoby can talk to this. And a football season for a team is only about 50 hours. So a baseball season has the players out there playing for almost 10 times as long as a football season. So if weird stuff is going to happen, it's much more likely to happen in baseball. Jacoby?
Go ahead.
A weird thing happened yesterday. Ohtani scored what's called a little league home run, which is a triple plus a fuck up. But I'd never heard the term before.
I mean, yes, and I mean, yes, you have more opportunities for different things to happen just because you have a longer period of time, but it's game specific, really. Like you have weird things that happen in basketball all the time. You have weird things that happen in football all the time. I mean, sure, but yeah, I mean, yeah, sure, you get.
And hockey, like there's one team where people throw octopuses onto the
ice. There's that. I mean, but that's a tradition thing, and not really a weird thing.
Yeah, it's more of a tradition.
So you have mishaps that happen in every sport. I mean, you can have mishap happen in cricket where somebody misses the throw back to the bowler, and then you have a run. You have multiple runs even scored. Seen that happen in cricket before. Same thing in soccer. So
just really quickly, and then we'll get back to some more seriousness. But I was actually talking to my aunt yesterday and everything like that, and we were talking about some of the rules and how it's hard to understand for some people, even some of the football rules and some of the changing rules, like with the USFL, and that's even been an issue with her, even with like knowing what's a hold, what's not a hold, and things along those lines. But maybe you can explain something to me, and for those that are watching, since we are in the middle of the Final Four in hockey and everything like that, I still don't quite understand what icing is. I know what offside is, and I get offside. That's in most sports, an offside. But this whole notion of icing, what exactly is icing?
It's a topping on top of the cake. Buttercream is usually the best.
No, whipped cream.
But it's also a penalty in hockey, and that's what I don't understand. What causes icing as a penalty?
I mean, Sasha watches hockey as well. It's just basically from where you hit the puck, fleeting from one zone to the other without being touched at a particular place, or traveling two zones without being touched.
Absolutely.
So
that's an icing.
That's an icing. Okay, that's fair enough. I was just trying to figure that out because you asked me and I did not have an answer because I'm new to hockey in terms of being a fan, even though we've had the team, the Carolina Hurricanes, for a while and everything like that. How concerned, and coming back to serious topics, are folks about these other epidemics? I know we've got our medicine show that is still on the air and everything like that, but I did see that there is a outbreak of Ebola. Ebola was here even before COVID and everything like that, and now health workers are responding to Congo's fast-growing Ebola outbreak. So,
all right, okay, so hantavirus, not a concern. It's pretty tough to get hantavirus and to pass it person to person. Every year, some people get tangled with rodents who are carrying it, and they die because it's a bad disease. Gene Hackman and his wife died, I believe, from hantavirus. But you're not going to get a pandemic or an epidemic. Ebola, more concerning, highly contagious, but the only thing that saves us from Ebola killing a third of everybody on the planet is that it's mostly bloodborne, that you can't get it from breathing on people. Unless in the last stages of Ebola, you basically melt. So you probably are breathing blood. Every breath probably spatters the people tending to you with blood, so they need to wear hazmat suits. Ebola is a more serious concern because if Ebola ever becomes more contagious, it could take out millions.
Yeah.
Did I get that right, anybody? Also a concern because, Trump has stripped away like U.S. aid and a lot of the people that we have overseas to make sure that, we've got the best science being applied to these situations.
So, yeah, I mean, the strain that's out there right now, the Ebola strain that's starting to spread, is the one that we don't have a vaccine or any therapeutics for. That's one coming out of the Congo. That one, yes, we have a concern about because, yes, USAID was cut. But this, yes, there is a big concern. And that's not just with Ebola and everything else that's happening. Rontavirus is, yes, you're correct. It's a strain. There's supposedly it's the strain that can transfer person to person, but yes, you're correct. It's hard. So that's not really one that we should be scared about. The Ebola virus, because we cut USAID, that cut off and removed ourselves from WHO. So therefore, that takes us off the front lines of actually trying to combat these viruses that are constantly spreading and constantly trying to break out. So it's not like it. So what we have right now is we don't have a defense for all these things that are constantly growing. We have a measles outbreak that is not being contained. We have whooping cough that's now back. We have all these diseases that are now back that were all dead and gone and preventable. But this administration has allowed those things to arise again. So, Mark, to answer your question, are we concerned? Yes. Should we be? Yes, because we have a problem.
And here's a new crazy thing that will be originating. It's now possible for a private individual who knows what he's doing to use CRISPR technology to build a designer virus. Mm-hmm. So they've done experiments to see, can you build a virus just using this gene splicing technology? And they did an experiment in the lab, and they built a bunch of viruses that have never been built before under strict conditions. And they found out that of these, they built a bunch of new viruses. 16% of them could, if they got out there, would infect people. Yeah, and they say now, what I've read is a smart person could build their own virus. But they said in the future, the technology will get better and better. And using AI in the future, idiots could build viruses. I'm writing a novel set in the near future. And among other things, idiots who want to get laid try to build viruses that make people horny because they think if we just make women horny, then maybe somebody will have sex with me. So then there has to be the virus police who have to go around and pretty much kill idiots who are building viruses in their garages.
Yeah, they got to kill the idiots and everything like that. Hey, Sasha, just really quickly, I see that Wall Street is edging lower, and they're talking about these volatile oil prices. So I was talking to a friend of mine. I think the oil price where they were was like $4.30 and everything like that. Are we going to see $6 oil anytime soon, or $6 gas? And what is your take on this oil crisis and all along those lines?
That's simple. If U.S. will capitulate and get out of the Middle East, then the oil will come down and quite sharply. On the other hand, if U.S. will continue its war And even without going into full-scale invasion, but just to continue to operate, continue to inflict damages to Iran farther and farther, then the prices for oil will go way higher. I think the gasoline in US, yeah, it can reach $6 actually, no problem. In some states, probably it's already now $6, maybe more.
So right now the price per barrel is $101. So as long as it stays, and it's been bouncing around between 80 and 100 for well, since the war started. As long as it remains, between 90 and $100, we're going to have gas over $4 a gallon.
Well, we're going to have gas over $5 coming soon, because what we're forgetting is that we have right now, we're coming up on the holiday season, the holiday travel season, and gas spikes every holiday travel season. So its average right now is $4.50. It's going to spike, and we will probably hit $5 within the next, month or two, because of the fact, again, it's the holiday travel season, and that's going to cut back on driving for some, but people are still going to travel. And you got the airlines that need the gas most of all, and they were talking about trying to ration some of the gas so the airlines can still have gas, since there's no gas traveling or oil traveling through the strait right now. So you got to be able to ration globally where that gas is going. So then you have that problem there. So again, gas is going to hit $5. And the crazy part, so this is the crazy part. And I've got Rick, actually, you're in front of the computer. You can find out. Everybody points to the Republican Party keeps trying to defend itself by pointing to 2022 when gas spiked, and that was due to COVID. But they're trying.
Also, it was due to the Ukraine war.
Ukraine war and COVID. So my curiosity is how long did it stay there?
Because I can tell you that gas only hit $5 a gallon for 1 week in all of history.
So when it went that $5, how long did it stay? How many weeks did it stay above 450?
8 weeks.
8 weeks above 450.
Yeah.
So currently,
we just started week number 3 of 450 in the current era.
And so when it went 8 weeks at 450, it spiked to 450 and dropped back down. How fast?
So it was above 450 for the last 2 weeks of May, all of June, and the first 2 weeks of July.
So the travel season.
Yeah. So, and I looked it up. Gas spikes for Memorial Day on average, 15 and 30 cents a gallon. A week from today is Memorial Day. So in less than a week, we've got the Memorial Day weekend. So gas could easily go to 465, 470.
Yep. So my guess is it's going to hit 5, just because, again, we're still stuck in the strait. We still have no movement there. And now he's talking about, hey, going back to.
I don't know, because there was people like to say a perfect storm. Trump also did a deal with OPEC at the end of his administration to limit gas production, which that deal was to drive up prices, because during COVID, gas dropped to $1.77 a gallon because nobody was going anywhere. And Trump was trying to drive the price up to help the oil companies. So he made a deal that they would make less gas. That deal was still in place in 2022 when all this other invasion of, when all this other stuff happened. As soon as that deal ended, the price went down.
And
so,
now
I attended the CERA week on this, but go ahead, Jacoby.
Oh, I was just going to say that it's going to be impossible to make a deal with OPEC now, because there's no OPEC is right there with the strait.
Yeah, there's not going to be any deal. The thing is there for a long time, I never believed any one president's actions could cause the rate of gas to go up or down, because I attend CERA Week every year. And CERA Week is where the oil industry leaders meet once a year from around the world. And they're the owners, the Exxon CEOs, the people who actually pump the gas, like Pioneer. And so in attending this after COVID, and when Biden took office and the prices were escalating and Trump was pointing the finger at Biden, and they said it was because we didn't have enough gas or oil. I asked the owners point blank in a media room press conference before they got on stage. I said, and the spin of my question was, you mean to tell me no one used gas for a year and a half, and you guys continued to pump for a year and a half? That's what you said in these meetings, that you never stopped production. But we don't have any gas, according to Trump. And so you had to jack the prices up. And the grin on their faces and the oops and the, caught look. And it wasn't a gotcha, because it wasn't on stage yet. But they admitted there was no shortage of gas. They just allowed media to pump those lies out there so they didn't look bad, because they wanted a bonus check. And they got a big one, $96 billion. You can go look it up because it's all public information. The problem with these gas prices is there is no regulation. And that bothers me, because you regulate everything else, but there's no regulation, and gas controls our whole life. It controls whether we get to and from work in many cases, whether you use a transportation system or your own means. It controls your heat and electric, whether you use gas at home or somewhere else. The power companies utilize a lot as well. So to not regulate the one utility that our country relies on, that's the problem. Okay. But yeah, I think in this case, Trump did cause the prices to go up because of access to oil and gas. But could they have kept it down? Yes. Is it up because of the timing for vacation? Yes. But I went back through photos I took during Biden, and I take the same kind of photos during Trump. And it was and the at the pump photos really back during Biden was because my MAGA family whined and complained so much about the gas prices going up that whenever I saw prices low where they were living, because I visited them a lot back then, I would take a picture and send it to them, say, hey, just wanted to let you know that the gas prices are at a decent price here. So I have loads of gas prices back during Biden because my family whined so much. But do you know, I don't hear one complaint from them right now. And the prices are almost double what they were during Biden. But the highest price I got was July 15th, 2022 at $3.99 a gallon during Biden. And after that summer, the prices dropped and really never went back up again.
I got to say, we are babies in the U.S. Our gas is subsidized. In Europe, they pay $7.50 a gallon. They don't even buy it by the gallon. They buy it by the liter, which is like they buy it by the quart. And it's roughly $2 a quart. Yep. And that's because, gas, we don't want to burn up all the world's gas because we need it. So in Europe, they're like, well, if we make it more expensive by taxing it, we'll be able to spend money on pollution mitigation, to limit consumption. So we still have it good over here compared to England, to France. And also they drive little dinky cars that would, one of a British car would fit inside the trunk of our SUV.
So true. So true. I mean, we have it easy in many ways, but we kept crying we need to become independent, and Trump said we will become independent. And the proof in the pudding that we have not, and he's done absolutely nothing to become independent in gas and oil, is when we shut down the strait, the prices jacked up. Now, did they jack? And I want to go to the CERAWeek next one. I didn't go to this one because I feared the war happening and somebody might attack. But I want to go again and just ask the same question, pretty much a little different twist. Was it really necessary for the prices to go up, or was this another bonus check for you? Because that would be important to know, right? But I truly believe that this is probably the first time that the gas prices are because of the actions of the president. Just my input based on experience meeting with the oil and gas industry. That's it.
Yeah, it makes sense and everything like that. So I can definitely see it.
I'm curious, is anyone even paying attention to the laws that they keep trying to pass in the states, like monitoring women's periods, that the police are going to be able to monitor our periods, and whether children can marry or not? All the Republicans voted that children can still be married, and I'm just really wondering what on earth is going on. But
Louisiana just rejected all 5 constitutional amendments that they put out there.
So if you really want to know what's going on, Kim, you got to read The Handmaid's Tale.
Well, The Handmaid's Tale, but Donald Barr wrote a book, and he was the headmaster of the school where Epstein first worked. And the police that investigated Epstein said that this book was his playbook for his business and society he was building. And it was called Space Relations, written by Donald Barr. He was the school headmaster that hired Epstein. And they said this book follows exactly what Epstein and Ghislaine and Trump were doing. And that was an oligarch society building sex slave children society. That's all they were doing. That's all this book is about. Oligarchs building a sex child slave society. So, I mean, you can read the Handmaid's Tale, but they say this is what Epstein was building. I believe this is what Trump wants as well. So
again, the reason I point to The Handmaid's Tale, and the main reason, I mean, not only does it have exactly what you're talking about in there, the Handmaid's Tale was about that. It was about having those sex slaves and stuff like that. But it was also about the other things that are there, from the oppression of any non-white male individuals. That was also a part of Handmaid's Tale. That was a huge piece of Handmaid's Tale, which is what's going on. You remove the voting power of minorities that's going on right now, which are all the laws going across. If you look at the removal that's happening in the old Confederate states, that's what's going on. And you're taking away the votes of African Americans and other minorities. You're diluting they specifically said that's what they were doing. Yeah. Even after the court said you can't do it by race. Well, let's go ahead and dilute the black vote.
Let's talk about Handmaid's Tale. Margaret Atwood, who wrote it, 30, 40 years ago now, is a genius, because the precipitating event that causes this revolution, this coup in America, is an environmental disaster that makes most women infertile. And in fact, now we are it's not as bad as in The Handmaid's Tale, but we have an international baby shortage. So the Christian revolutionaries who blow up the Capitol and take over the government in The Handmaid's Tale set up a repressive system to optimize the use via slavery of any woman who's capable of having a baby.
And if you look at even what you just stated right there, check this out though, Rick. This is again why I point to it. The way they took over the government, the explosive, the war that they fought to take over when they set up all the other stuff. In that, what happened January 6th? You talk about the environmental disaster. We had the COVID situation that caused people to believe. Now you have the heavy use of religion to make their leaders into deities. Look at what we literally just had.
There's another show, The Boys,
yeah,
where their Superman character, Homelander, he's basically if Superman were the biggest asshole in the world. Well, this is the last season of The Boys, and Homelander had a vision where God told him that he is the Messiah. He's the new Jesus, and he's formed a religion around himself, and he just kills anybody who doesn't believe in him.
So, and remember, it wasn't a vision of God. It was the lady he killed that he is obsessed with because he is extremely
obsessed with breast milk, and he used to suckle at this lady. And I mean, it's one of the most fucked up shows on TV.
But if you think about, and again, that was, that whole idea, because that show has always been picking at the right wing, and Homelander's always been the idea of what
if Homelander's a mixture between Trump and Superman? What if Trump had superpowers?
And so with not only that, but also with The Handmaid's Tale about making their leaders into deities and protected by God and everything else. Look at literally what's being told to the soldiers that he's been selected by God. We literally yesterday on the National Mall, the heart of the country. You guys saw what took place, didn't you? The whole national day of prayer to bring everybody back to Christian religion.
Well, it wasn't just a national day of prayer. It was tied to America 250. It's bringing Christianity back to America on our 250th birthday. They had dozens of speakers. Only one of them wasn't a fundamentalist Christian.
And the craziest part about that is that you had people, it was paid for by the taxpayers. It was we also had individuals like Trump, JD Vance, all of the other heads who were selected by God to these people speaking at this event. That is why it's very scary to see all these things, and why I keep referencing The Handmaid's Tale, because The Handmaid's Tale was nothing but a wet dream for the extreme Christian right wing nationalists.
Yeah, the conservatives. And I would like to remind people, if you are a Christian, or even if you're not and you've read the Bible, remember, God did not say kill in my name. God did not say kill those that do not being my Messiah on earth. God didn't say that. You know why? God don't need that. If he wants to kill a group of people or a person, God's going to point a finger and do it. He doesn't need you or another man to point out these people need to die. Okay? Remember that, because God doesn't do that. That's not how God works, or at least not the way we were taught in any religion. God is powerful enough to take out whoever he wants. Okay, he's testing you. How stupid are you to believe that walking man on earth is the Messiah, and you need to kill this human for him? You know what? If he's the Messiah, let him do the deed. But let me tell you something. It's not Trump that scares me as much as it is MAGA and how easy they are to brainwash.
So, I just looked it up, and AI has an answer for everything. So I asked, what percent of Americans are quiet Christians who are quietly disgusted with this MAGA brand of Christianity. And going off of AI, there's a pretty much 50-50 divide that nearly 2/3 of American adults identify as Christian. Half of those are MAGA Christians, and half of them are quiet Christians who are quietly disgusted with MAGA, white nationalist Christians.
I can go even further for you, though, Kim, on the remembering part, though. Because I mean, what Rick is saying is true, but also the big thing that gets them to be manipulated so easy is because they tell them that Christianity is under attack. Christianity in this country has never been under attack. We celebrate Christmas in this country. It is it's the biggest celebration it's the biggest holiday that we celebrate. The majority of the holidays that we celebrate are all Christian holidays.
Yeah,
so Christianity is not under attack in any form.
I'm Jewish, and we have always, in my family, had so much to do with Christmas. You know, my dad had a women's wear store, and we would put up 12 Christmas trees in the store. My first job was working a bow machine to make bows for Christmas packages. Every year, we had a Christmas pageant. You know, if we were lucky, we'd throw in one crappy Hanukkah song. There is really only one Hanukkah song, and it's shitty. And in my hometown, we had a Christmas star on the side of the mountain, Boulder, Colorado. They still put it up. And there's no war on Christmas.
And check it out. In one more month, I kid you not, in one more month, Walmart's going to have Christmas stuff out on the shelf. It's 6 freaking months away.
I have family who would start buying Christmas presents in June, putting them on layaway, if you remember layaway.
Yep.
So layaway was where you bought something and put it on hold, paying on it every month until you can buy it out of the storage. So yeah, I've watched my family do this for years, and that's why I established a law when, I kind of fell into that when my kids were younger, but I finally established a law in my family: no more presents. Okay, let's just share time, love, food, fun together. Let's don't.
If you're a kid, you want to choose parents you want one parent who's Jewish, one parent who's Christian, and among those two parents, somebody should be black. So you can get 17 or so nights of presents. You get 8 nights of Hanukkah, you get 7 or 8 nights of Kwanzaa, and then you get Christmas.
I love the fact that you started with, brain. If you could choose, kids, you want to choose your parents.
Like in my family, we got 9 nights we had Hanukkah, and we had so many Christian friends that we'd get Christmas presents too. It was a really good deal.
And that's why I decided to stop doing the Christmas presents, so that
it could be a real good deal. I know we're going to
wind down and more about each other. So, but yeah, that's a good idea, Rick. Choose your parents well.
Take them back.
All right, you're to wind down and everything like that. But to your point, Jacoby and Kim, I mean, one of the biggest things that they say in the Bible is beware of false idols. So that's one of the biggest things that the Bible talks about regularly and everything like that. So definitely that is something that our MAGA friends need to remember as well. But on that note, we're going to get on out of here, and we got other shows coming later on this evening and all on those lines. So I will catch y'all folks later. But right now, time to get on out of here.